Hey, um, what you see there behind me? That's a mattress. That's the American dream. A mattress. If you have a mattress, if you can sleep in a mattress, if you have a mattress, you literally have the American dream. Mattress and a root beer. Actually, no. Mattress and delivery. If you can pick up your phone and call and have somebody deliver pizza to your house, that's the American dream. Somebody standing at your door and hands you food. And then you go and you lay on your mattress and eat it. That's my mattress. Well, one of them. Okay, I put it in this room sometimes when I need to lay down when I'm next to a computer. Anybody who's an old pro knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, I need to blog about this something. I want to blog. The name of this blog is the name of this blog is substitution as standard. Substitution, or maybe it's substitution versus standardization, or substitution versus standard. Anyway, my point is, when does substitution become the standard? When is it that a makeshift kind of jimmy rig kind of situation, becomes the standard or the norm? Like, you might do something temporarily, like that mattress. I put it in this room temporarily just because I have to do something here, or I have to wait for something, or I have to wait for something to beep or something like that. And so it's just a temporary sleeping situation. Okay. And it's just to help me deal with a specific task. Now, let me explain something to you with temporary situations that come about to help deal with a specific task or situation. Okay, I have, when you think about homosexuals, that's homosexual adoptions. No homosexual should have ever been awarded a child. People like to compare that and say, oh, well, it's just it's a family, and therefore or a better situation. Like, they like to compare like the misgivings of a heterosexual family to like a homosexual family that they consider to be a better situation. Like, I was just talking to somebody on another forum, and what they said was, well, it's better, like in the case of this mother that screwed up with her child, gave her child into prostitution. That's horrible. Okay, we all know that, right? And then they say, well, I would rather see. Now, I'm not talking about my friend. I'm talking about somebody on that forum I was tic-tacking with. Somebody who and forgive me, I'm going to be very, very straightforward about a couple of situations because I'm dealing with a situation. But, when you see a mother and she does something bad, or some mothers suffer from postpartum depression or whatever, you never know what their motivation is on why they might mistreat their children. We've had mothers that killed their children, and it's hurtful to a loving mother that knows the value of her child, to see another mother do that, And we're all hurt, because we all know that children are sacred, and we never want to see anything bad happen to a child. And especially, a little defenseless 5-year-old girl, as the case with Shania Davis. It's a very, very bad situation. But, lots of people will say, well, it's homosexuals, the child will be better, homosexuals will do a better job. So they literally compare two men compared to a woman. Now, see, to me, that's a huge misgiving, and that's a very uncompared, deceitful, and cunning kind of comparison, being that two men could never even create a child, the get go. How can you even compare it? It's like somebody getting on stage and somebody in the audience ridiculing them when they can't sing. It's like you can't even sing and you're going to ridicule somebody who is singing and maybe hit a bad note. This is like another. And what bothers me is the cunningness behind it is, why don't you compare it to failed homosexual relationships? Where you have two men who are attracted to each other, and then they get a little boy and they're attracted to the little boy. I understand. This is just a problem with humans in general because of the lack of restrictions when it comes to sex. At some point when it comes to sex, our society still has the wherewithal to say this far and no further. We raise a standard and we say you can go this far, but don't go any further. Okay? We do that in mostly everything. Everything has that type of thing where you have a limitation to it. Okay? Like, heterosexuals have a limitation to sex. They can't just have sex with anybody they feel like, or be instinctual like animals about this kind of thing. They must have some type of humanity about them that says, okay, I have a choice. I cannot sleep with my parents. I cannot sleep with my family members. I can't sleep with underage people. You at some point, until you take action and do that kind of stuff, then that's when you've crossed the line and have gone too far. Okay? And personally, some people feel like, well, they can't sleep with somebody else who is married to somebody else. Or some people feel like they can't sleep with somebody unless they're married. So there's all types of standards. Okay? So my point is that, I understand you want to say, well, the child would have been better off with two homosexual people, but the child would never have existed if it wasn't for that drunken mother or whatever the other case. So you can't even do that good, okay? You can ridicule her, but at least she can do it, you can't do that good. So that's not the situation I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about the standard. When you take a very temporary situation, like I might temporarily sleep in this room sometimes, I'll put a mattress, a cushion, anything. It's a temporary sleeping situation to deal with a particular task, Sometimes it's longer than I want, but that's what it is. I want to talk about the homosexual family. A family that can never, ever, as I said, generate. You can never share genes with your mate. That's not a family, okay? That's not a real family. That's an arrangement. That's a situation. That's from circumstance. When you have adopted people, when you have, okay, this child has no body, so we're going to give her two healthy human beings, a male and a female, okay? For two homosexual men to ever say that they can do better than a female, like I said, a female, I don't know what's wrong with the women today to allow to, they don't let... They don't say men can do anything right, but they gonna allow this. I don't know what's wrong with y'all women, but like some of y'all women need to take your umbilical cord and just choke any man that could discount your job. If not, then slice Mother's Day in half and give it to these homosexual men. Okay, as much as women want women that ain't your mom, ain't mothers credit for Mother's Day, I'm surprised they let these homosexual guys get away with this bull crap, But that's not my point. My point is, I'm going to explain something really quickly. Is a temporary situation. Now, everybody is dealing with real life, okay? So we have situation Okay, this is another thing that bothers me a little bit, because it's not dealing with the truth. It's not dealing with reality. I don't know what kind of psychosis that goes on there, but the reality is, um, to to a woman that is heterosexual for 15 years and then all of a decide she's not happy and want to be with another woman. Homosexuals say, well, she was homosexual all along. That's very undefined. Now, let me say something. One of the biggest problems that that Christians have with homosexuals is that marriage is sacred. I know you think it's not. I know you think it's no meaning. It's hard, but like children are sacred, marriage is sacred, and sex is sacred. Okay, to become one flesh. They share genes. And they create love, which is in the child. Children are unconditional love. Children are. Okay, what you think is love, whatever, anyway. But they'll all of a sudden discount 15 years of heterosexuality in order to justify their homosexuality. You know what? With that kind of reason, one thing I've come to understand is that, some people just don't care. They don't care if it's right or wrong. They just want what they want. And like I say, the mentality between just saying, oh, well, if we just switch it around, they're just the same, No homosexual has ever created a life without heterosexuality. So how can they be the same? One is dependent on the other. Homosexuality is completely dependent on heterosexuality. That's why they want adoption. It's not self-sustaining. No homosexual should have ever gotten a child. You know why? Because a child's health is not just having a stable home, having the money, take them to good school. There's more to raising a child than that. I have fond memories of my mother that gives me a true balance of life. I have wonderful, fond memories of my father. My father was my first hero. And it's little things that just being there. Just being there. It's not even relative to anything anybody can have. One of my favorite, one of my favorite, my dad walks around half crippled now. But one of my favorite memories of that crippled man that I see is that we took us all swimming and we went over to the deep side of the pool for the first time, and we was all scared to go over to the deep side of the pool, and we looking at the edge of the pool. All of a sudden I looked up and I see Superman going over the top of all of us, diving in the water. That's one of my favorite. That was my first hero. One of my favorite memories of my father. Two women, you're not gonna see that kind of thing. There's a balance of that. There's a balance. It's like, having two sons, two men is like having two sons. Too much heat, too much of the wrong kind of energy. Whereas, two moons, too much darkness, too much of the wrong kind of energy. Together, they're appropriate to raise the earth, for the earth, So there's a relationship through the whole universal thing. And I'm telling you, changing that is not going to change anything. My point was, and let me get it because I'll make it about the same amount of time. My point was, this is, again, I talk to people online, and it bothers me that, I see such things, I'd like to, I'd sometimes like to ask these people who have hardened their hearts to where they say nothing is sacred, and children aren't sacred. I can understand any couple that can't create children would say nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred about creation. Only if you can never ever create a little child, could you actually say that. When you have a newborn that comes from your body, now that doesn't discount temporary situations that are based on, raising a child, which is a healthy situation, you know. And I'm telling you, part of that health is a inner sense of moral being, and those kind of things from a balanced relationship, you know. And I don't care if you have good jobs, steady income, you can't teach those things. You can't teach, you're not going to teach the child moral, spiritual kind of things that you say that aren't sacred anyway, because they disagree with your lifestyle. Really, the biggest concern a Christian has is that, you know, these people want to um, commit to an eternal commitment that is sinful. You know, our concern is your well-being. You know, it's you're not going to change God. God's not going to suffer. You know, marriage. You know, well, you know that's laws and state laws. You know, the state can never have enough money to teach you morality. You know, to give you morality or buy you morality. That's not the biggest concern. The biggest concern is marriage is an eternal commitment. You know, from the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong. But, you know, to see somebody who, you know, might decide just like after she's been in a heterosexual relationship that, no, I actually want to go back to this. And now they're stuck in a marriage, you know. So it's concern and just for the person. The shame's not going to leave. You know, the two become one flesh in the spiritual kind of world. It doesn't happen. God doesn't go back on his word. It's not just, oh, it's the same, you can switch babies and everything is going. There's still no dignity in it. It's not gonna all of a sudden, well, we'll just be married and we're the same. The biggest problem is that, you know, because you have the sin, it doesn't make, you know, people need to be a little bit more, nobody should persecute you because you're a sinner, because everybody else is a sinner. Anyway, that's not my point. I want to say this real quickly. Women that get divorced or have kids or is heartbroken by a man or their man treated them terrible, and then you have another woman comes around and says, I'm a strong man type and I can take care of you and I'll help you raise your children. A temporary, you know, the task at hand. You know, they help you temporarily, and so that's how they do it. And so then they're like in a relationship. You know, it's the same thinking that made her have sex with a woman is the same thinking that, and the same unsound reasoning that says, oh, we deserve to be married because we're a family now. You're not a family, you know. You're not a family. You're dealing with a temporary situation and trying to help her with a particular task. You know, so now you have a woman who has had kids, you know, maybe for whatever reason she's shunning being with a man. But that doesn't make it a family or marriageable. You know, you didn't raise those kids. You know, those aren't your kids. You didn't create them. You know, that's the truth of the matter. You know, I understand you can take care of them and be all that stuff, but it's still a substitute of a real family. It's just dealing with a task. You know, it's just helping it. And a lot of women, you know, a lot of, you know, macho dyke women prey on that situation, prey on women that have been hurt, you know, by their man or divorced or now have to take care of a house, a kid, and a family because the man took off. You know, so here comes this woman with a nice job and got the money, you know. You know, all you got to do is throw away your morals, you know, and or accept this kind of relationship. And then you have survival for your women, for your kids and stuff like that. Because you're a mother and you're doing whatever you can to raise your children. Okay, there should be some help. There's other, you know, financial help, you know, that they can get from that. And I understand some of the women are scorned, and some of it do it just to get back at the man, you know. But I just wanted to explain that, you know, that situation where these people become in a temporary living arrangement, you know, it doesn't make it the standard, you know. And so then you have another homosexual group that are alone, two men or two women, and then they say, "Oh, look at them! They're one big happy family. They got kids." Another temporary. Now they want kids. They envy this situation. So now it's sperm bank and all of this other stuff, surrogate, a bunch of other substitutes, and then they're trying to make it a standard when it's not. So I think that we need to recognize the difference and realize what it is. So that was my point. I just wanted to explain the situation. That's 20 minutes. My videos are getting long. I know some people don't mind. This wasn't geared towards any particular woman. Now, let me tell you, temporary sleeping situations. I always tell you I'm not perfect. I've slept with plenty of lesbian women. That's the truth.